Hi, this is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're going to talk about NESARA and bankrupting the corporation. Well, so recently I was just and today is May 2nd, and I was at PPN. They had an event in Bowie, Texas. I didn't know where that was, so it's just a little bit, west and north of Dallas area. So it's a little tiny town. It's really kind of a quaint town. And so I had prepared, basically this at 20 minutes, and I was told, no, I had to do it for 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay. So I've got it basically down, and I'm going to tell you a little story. So I get up there, and, there's some reverb in my ear. So, we all had to deal with a little bit of that stuff on the stage, and there's always outside, weird things that are happening with that too. So I'm going along, I'm doing my talk, I've got my notes in my hand, and I've got the microphone going on, but there's something strange that happens for this thing. That's why you guys need to hear it, because my wife tried to put it up on her iPad, and it didn't really kind of come out in the sound. So at near the end of my talk, there's two cops that kind of walk up there. Now, I'm almost always armed. I'm sorry, but I am. I don't care if that bothers you, offends you, but I'm almost always armed in those kinds of places. Just, you never know. And so I see two cops walk up in the bullpen kind of area for the speakers. And I'm like, are you here for me? And I'm like, because they obviously come up right during my talk, and I don't know if they're ready to take me away, like, kind of thing. So sorry, my camera kind of moves with me here. So it was kind of a funny little thing. So I want to share with you this this bankruptcy of the corporation, and I want to give you a little bit of the preamble. Sorry, a little bit of cough here. A little bit of allergies been out in their field. So let's go backward a hair into 2020. Now, in 2020, we have there's three CARES Acts that occurs. Number one is the first CARES Act, and that is the first CARES Act is a 1,000-page document. Now, I had my friend Fran, who actually passed away. I believe it was late 2020, and it was really hard for me because she was such a cool person, and it really helped me so many different ways. But she's in heaven; she doesn't care. So she's preparing to be the bride of Christ. So she is the bride of Christ, but she's preparing the wedding feast. Okay, and she was an IRS agent. And actually very, very high up in the Cincinnati area, and she would actually interact with when Congress would send out a new kind of act that would say, this is what we're going to do with this particular new thing. Well, she would actually have to write it up a little differently for each time frame. So she had to know how to write. She's a very good writer, actually, too. And so here's how it went. She reads the first CARES Act, and she has read many of these kinds of, things. It's a 1,000-page document. And she goes, Scott, there's no errors in it. And I'm looking at her. I remember talking to her back in 2020. This is only a couple months after this happened. And I'm like, and she goes, no, you don't get it. There were no errors. And I'm like, there's never been no errors in a document like that. She goes, and I'm like, and she goes, because there are no errors in it, it means that they had written it long before, and they even had documented sources all the way through this thing, of way past documentation. It was too well carefully prepared. Now, the CARES Act was a setup by what I believe is the elitist, the sicko people that Trump was really going after. Now, what's interesting is not even 3 weeks later, they come out with the real landmark point of the second CARES Act. This actually is a 1,200-page document. And it has the landmark PPP loans. This is where they take out, if I'm going to get this right, I hope I get the exact wording. I think it's $1.2 trillion. Now, to get it, grasp your mind around this, there had never been $1.2 trillion coming out of any budget. Now, to have you understand, no budget has created a $1.2 trillion thing. So to have a CARES Act come up with $1.2 trillion, and people were complaining about it left and right. And those PPP loans, which is payroll protection plan, I think it is, for the small business owners that people want to complain about. But that's the only reason why those businesses are actually in existence today. And I'm one of those small businesses. And what happened with those loans is that they gave us money, but they also gave those small banks money. And so here's what happens. So both sides of that small business and the bank got money. They got it through the Treasury, which is an SBA loan. It was a very simple loan for the bank to fill out for you that you would have to do. You had to, make sure that you used it for employees. It was a 2-page documentation to get it written off. And once that was written off, you didn't have to pay anything back. And there's no credit check on this whole thing. And there's no default issue built into it. I mean, now, if you were messing around, they would come after you in that way, but you had to just give all the money back with that too. Now, the NFL went off and decided they wanted to claim themselves as a small business. Like, what? You guys are still playing football during that time frame. Come on. That would be May of 2020, but you get the idea. And this is the craziness of that circumstance. But you had to ask yourself, how are they getting this money? They were getting it through the Fed. See, what Trump did is he took the Fed and sublimated it underneath the Treasury Department. Now, you've heard me talk about this, and that is one of the most powerful points of the beginning of the bankruptcy of the issue. Now, they actually write another one of the CARES Act, which is the third of the CARES Act, and that's 1,400 pages long, and it's not even, 4 to 6 weeks later. Now, to give you an example, there's this book called Revelations of the Red Pill. This is a 170-page book. I wrote it in 4 weeks. Now, I busted a gut to do this. And one of the hardest books I ever wrote in my life, because I'm writing it in such quick speed. And I had people reading it. People were like, come on. I'm writing it. That was writing it to editing it. And I'm editing it. My other people are editing it. I'm working on this thing, get the book cover kind of thing on there. Just crazy stuff to get the sucker done. And I did that in 4 weeks' time. And you're going, how did you get that done? Well, how did they get 1,000 and a 1,200 and a 1,400-page document? Because they were pre-written. But what Trump did is he put that poison pill in there to shove the Fed underneath the Treasury and begin the process of NESARA. Begin the bankrupting of the corporation. So here's what we're going to talk about here. We're going to talk about how this actually happened. So I want you to go way back in time and see the beginning of this. So I want you to go back in time in October 1st of 17, and there is a false flag. Now, some people hear a false flag and they go, I don't really know what that means. False flag is, and by the way, I don't know if that I for sure coined this, but I'm pretty darn sure I've said it this way. And then I've seen some truthers actually say it that way. So I can't just purely claim this. But false flag is look over here, don't look over here. Look over here, don't look at what I'm doing over here behind your back. Okay? So that's how you want to think about a false flag is. What it is, it's killing a bunch of people. Now, it's the Las Vegas shooting, with the dude, the single white guy who kills off a whole bunch of people on the top floor or higher end floor, and he shoots down at a whole bunch of people. But wait a second, there are two black helicopters right over here in between a couple buildings or a couple hotels, and there's also near the ground floor there's also another 50 cal that's shooting off, and it's shooting off as well. And you're going, wait a second, what's happening? What you need to know is Trump and the Saudi Arabian prince were in that building or in that hotel. So what happens is that they were trying to kill him. And this is not just the first time that they were trying to kill Trump, because they've been trying to kill him all the way through. This is just one of those time frames. But it was really important because this prince says, hey, listen, man, what can I do for you? And he goes, I'm going to give you the answer here. Okay, this is the Scott version. Okay, so I'm going to give you the answer. I want you to go to these big tech and these big corporations and give them their marching order. So he goes to the big ones, think about the big corporations, the Amazon, the Walmarts, all these different ones, and tells them what they're supposed to do. More importantly, he tells the big tech, the Twitters, the other ones, all these other ones that you would think about, and tells them what they're going to do to Trump, and push he's helping to push the Patriot movement. This is the 17th letter kind of conversation with this. And then he's also telling the media, who's also a big corporation, what they're supposed to do. So we've got 3 different levels of this thing that he's doing all at once. Now remember, this is October. Oh, sorry, there's hair in my mouth. He's got. This is all in October of 2017, and this is not even 9-10 months since he's been in office. So he's definitely preparing something. Now, what you need to know, firstly, in November, so 1 month, about a month and a half later, he writes an executive order that is a really important order. It's Executive Order 13818. 13818. Now, 13818 says if you have crimes against humanity, you will have your property blocked. Now, it indicates like 6 different ways that you would block your property. Now, I remember talking to many different truthers, including Santa Surfing, and I remember talking to her too, and I was like, I don't understand. I don't get it. And she'd say, sorry, the little thing's floating around. And she and I were talking about it. I'm like, I don't get it. I mean, like, if you're a billionaire, just think about a billionaire, and if he's got a property up in Nantucket, can't he just go buy something on Manhattan Island? Whatever. Pick the place, right? I mean, these billionaires, they tend to have, many properties, and you're saying block the property. And I remember when I first looked at that early on in the summer of 2020, I really didn't get it. And it was only later on, I think it was maybe 4 to 6 months later, I started to understand what it meant. It was because I was building some of the information, because I was talking about the bankruptcy of the corporation, but I really didn't understand why I meant the corporation was bankrupting. Now, we'll wrap that one up here in a little bit. But it actually has its basis, it's a legal basis in the 14th Amendment under the 3rd section. And then I'll wrap up with how that works. The 14th Amendment was built in the 1870s. And it's before the corporation actually occurs in the 1871 change. It's when they changed everything about the American Constitution. They made a new Constitution. Now, the 14th Amendment under the 3rd section indicates a really kind of crazy set of information. It basically says if there are debts that the American government does and they're done by a foreign power, you don't have to pay them. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't. I mean, again, we got two sets of information that they weren't really together, but I learned a lot later that they really were together. This is the brilliance of people like Trump, that they were putting together this kind of information to help out the people. You see, they've been trying to do this NESARA thing for a very, very, very long time. Now, what happens in there is it's really a bankruptcy. You see, it's not just blocking the property, it's blocking everything. So if you have crimes against humanity, and think about all the gross stuff. The ELECTION, I can't even say that, fraud issues, or the child trafficking stuff, or the other kind of gross things that happen in there. When you have all those things and the stuff that they have against these idiots, what happens if you have that? We're going to take every single thing away from you. And we're going to do it legally. Now, when I told you that the CARES 2 Act actually takes the Fed and sublimates them down underneath the Treasury, what does that mean? It means that it brings them underneath the constitutional government point. It just basically makes them an agency of the Treasury. Now, what you don't also know, and I've gotten several different documentation points of this, is that the Internal Revenue Service, or the IRS, is called Department of the Treasury. Now, this has never existed until the last couple years. This is why when we have a deletion of the IRS in the last couple years, we probably might get a little bit of our money back, maybe the last couple years. We're not going to get all the years back for the IRS, but maybe the last couple years, because they are now a department of the Treasury. So if the Fed is the Department of Treasury, what we're doing is defunding them. See, when we've talked about defunding the police in the past, when those idiots talked about that, what we were really talking about in the back end, the false flag to them, is that we were going to defund you. We're going to take all of your money and we're going to put it in a kitty. What's that kitty? The kitty would be the St. Germain Fund. Okay, do you catch where I'm going? So Executive Order 13818, crimes against humanity. If you have the crimes against humanity, we're going to block your property. Lines up to the 14th Amendment under the 4th section. I said that wrong. Under the 4th section that has that particular issue. 14th Amendment under the 4th section. Okay. Now, the next portion of this is Executive Order 13848, which actually was done in the beginning of 2018. Now, remember, this is quite a while ago. And that lines up to the 14th Amendment under the 3rd section. And this is actually talking about the election of 2020. And what Trump keeps talking about how bad that it was. And this is that stealing kind of thing that we talk about. So when there is a theft of something, when we have that theft of something, then we know that it's been taken from the people. And see, that's one of the most egregious points that you realize. It's what keeps these idiots in their positions. And that is a crime against humanity. It's a crime against the people. It's how they keep on doing what they do. And so that is a very important point of NESARA. You see, there are people like Lloyd Brunson who's out there working. And there are other people that I met here recently and I've talked to on the phone, Juan O'Savin, who's out there working on this kind of stuff. And when they're working on those integrity issues, and there's another one named Tori Says, who works on the integrity issues of the systems. When you have that kind of stuff going on in the background, it's incredibly important for the people. And so we need to have that done because it keeps those idiots in the power structures that they want to have. Okay? Now, so that, again, was all set up by Trump. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the bankruptcy point. Under the first article, under the 10th section, it talks about that you can only pay your debts with gold and silver. Now, the 17th letter actually indicates that gold will destroy the Fed. Now, what you need to know, a couple things that happen. Once the fake Biden comes into office, one of the things that happens in his inauguration, and what you notice that happens over the last 2.5 years-ish, is that prices move to an all-time level. Inflation go to levels that are unheard of. Now you think, well, wait a second, it's like 7%. No. They actually turned off the inflation from this petrodollar. Oil from the calculation of inflation. You cannot do that. You're not supposed to do that because it is a petrodollar. You have to actually add oil into the calculation of inflation. When you do that, you have about 25% inflation. And you feel that every day that you drive around and you see gas prices at $3, $4, $5, $6, that tells you that's the same kind of number. And when you see prices of car dealerships, let me tell you some things that are happening. Do you know car dealerships are about ready to go out? The average car dealership in the rates that are happening right now are sitting at 9% for a new car. For used cars, we're talking about a little bit lower rates. A little bit lower prices that they're doing, 12% for a rate. So what they're doing is extending the credit line out to 8 and 10 years for a car loan just to get it within the time frame. This is criminal. This is stuff that cannot be sustained. The housing issues are in crisis mode. That we're seeing houses and cars at way overvalued. People are, these companies are shoving in way higher prices than they can possibly come up with, and they're badly underneath. And guess what that means? Is repo like crazy. Secured loans are just getting repoed off the charts. And then what happens is that banks won't approve loans. Excuse me. They won't approve loans at all. And do you know that in the last 3 years, the average worker has lost more than $14,000? Now, that includes a lot of the unemployment stuff. And see, that's the other problem that's happened. We have a huge unemployment population, and people just don't have to work because they're getting unemployment. And that's a bad thing for the economy with this. From 2020, in this time frame that we're talking about with the CARES Act, which is the key point, to 2023, $10 trillion have come out of the Fed. $10 trillion. Do you know that in 15, 20 years ago, the whole debt of the economy was never $10 trillion. $10 trillion is like 10 years of an amount of a budget. It is an ungodly amount. It is like your drunken uncle who's always in debt going out and saying, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up 5 stores in Dallas. They're going to be shoe stores, and I'm going to open 5 shoe stores, and they're all going to be 20,000 square foot shoe stores, big shoe stores, and we're going to rock it. And you're going, Uncle Harry, you've never, ever been successful at anything you've ever done, and you're going to open 5 20,000 square foot shoe stores? I don't think so. That's what we have to see when we listen to these idiots talk. in Congress and Senate and supposed, fake Biden stuff. This is the stuff that happens. But you have to also ask yourself a question. Where do they get their money? It's from the people, right? Now, if they're getting their money from us and you're getting upset about this, right? And I'm sure that if you listen to this, your blood pressure is raising a little bit more and more as you speak. Okay. 2008 to 2009, Bush to Obama gets in office. Okay? Now, here's what happens. As soon as Obama gets in office, the tax rate goes up for each person that has an amount. So in January, and see, Obama isn't even in office, and the new amount goes in. And so you're going, wait, it's coming out of your tax amounts. How do they do that? I mean, he hasn't even gotten in office, and yet it's already gone up. That's just how it works, baby. I mean, the new Congress sets in, and they set in they haven't even set into a Congress, and yet they're approving a budget, already approving a budget way before those guys get in. That's how this sucker works. Now, in 2009, it goes up, so they're taking more money out of you. 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All of those years, those 8 years, I'm counting in sign language, by the way. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 years, it goes up in money. So it's taking more and more of your money out of your pocketbook, of your IRS pocketbook. And this is the anger of the people. Okay? So from 2009 to 2016, they're taking more money out of you. Now, Trump gets in office, and I'm watching this as a business owner. So I watch it, and then 2017, in the 9th year, I'm really watching this. It goes down. Now, I remember my younger sister, who is a finance person, complains about Trump. And she goes, yeah, but Trump, he's bad. I mean, he's making people not get as much money in their tax returns. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He took less money out. Yeah, but they're not getting as much money in tax returns. Oh, God, you're giving me a headache. Listen, if you pay less every single paycheck, you're not going to have as much in a tax return if you took out less in tax returns. Stop it. And she goes, well. Come on, stop that. That's just stupid. And this is a very, very common liberal kind of viewpoint. Okay? So 17, it goes down. 18, 19, 20. So he's in office through those 4-ish years, supposed, right? Now, 2021, January 1, 2021, I'm watching the paychecks. First time the paycheck comes out. And in January 2021, he's supposedly not in office with the fake Biden in office. And guess what? It goes down again. Now, knowing that from Bush to Obama, they actually moved it up. Because if Biden's in office, it should go up because he's going to spend money like a drunken sailor. And so you're saying that you're going to have that amount of money coming out. Why is it going down in the amount that they're taking out? So, but again, we're all kind of messed up in January of 2021. So I gotta go, okay, Scott, maybe you're just smoking rope here, whatever, right? January 21, it goes down. 22, it goes down too. 23, it went down. Just a little bit ago, it went down. If they're taking more money out of the Fed, how come they're not taking more money out of your pocketbook? It's because they're not in charge and we're defunding the idiots and they're paying for everything that they're supposedly writing a check for. You guys have no idea how this is so cool. It's every time they spend money, you think they're spending money for you, and of your money. No, they're spending their own cash. Telling you, this is the coolest thing. This is telling you that we are in charge. The white hats are in charge. Now, I know that's not thrilling to you because I know you want this to be over with. And I'm going to try to get some people on and we'll kind of explain a little bit more about that. So what happens? What is the bankruptcy of the idiots that we have? I had a guy that came in and he was such a sweet man. And I said, I was asking about his credit rating and trying to get credit for some hearing aids with this. And I said, what bank do you go with? He goes, yeah, I have a good bank. And I said, well, what's the bank name? He goes, it's a Bankruptcy. No, that's not the bank. What's the bank I go through? Okay. Here's what NESARA actually brings in. So as we're bankrupting them, what's going to happen is you're going to see the best jobs imaginable. I mean, there are going to be some amazing jobs coming in. There are going to be 6,000 technologies released. I can tell you as an audiologist, there are cool technologies, beamform technologies. And I can't even explain that one. It would take me a long time to get into that. I mean, just amazing stuff. Do you know there are technologies for not instead of the wind turbine stuff? Do you know that there are ocean-built technologies that can harness the ocean and bring it into electrical energy? I can't even get into that particular technology, but it's amazing stuff. We also are going to see debt forgiveness, and it's just because they have defrauded you. Now, we will talk about that one later, but you're going to see a complete debt forgiveness. You're also going to see an IRS deletion. Now, I do believe you're going to have some of the last couple of years getting your money back for that. And you're going to see a gold-backed currency. What it means is that instead of a defrauded, a valueless money of the US dollar, USD, instead of a CBDC, a central bank digital currency, that's not happening. Don't believe any of the idiots. Don't believe the economists who telling you this stupid stuff. It ain't happening. That's that drunken uncle that you think is trying to push something on you. They don't have any ability to do this. They're already unplugged. They don't have the ability to come up with it. Okay? What's happening is called a U.S. note. It's going to be done by the Treasury. It's going to have a digital and a physical note, all backed by gold under the quantum financial system. So the QFS, it's going to be perfectly tied into that. So whether you spent money on a credit card and paid for it, with your bank account in your QFS account, it doesn't matter. It's going to be backed by gold, which is going to raise the value of your money, which will decrease the value, the pricing of things. And you're going to see that over the next year after this NESARA thing goes through. So prices will have to decrease. And as a business owner myself, one of the things I'm going to talk about, and we're going to talk about this again, is that you're going to see these prices drop, and I'm ready for that. And I know exactly the kind of ways and when and how I'm going to actually change those prices. And there has to be a level. You don't think that you're going to have like instantaneous price drops. Okay, that's just stupid. Don't think that you're going to walk in and have 1950s pricing. That's just the dumbest thing in the history of the world. Okay, there's no macroeconomics built into that. Okay, so we'll talk about that in another one here. But I want you to realize the why of this. There's a big why. It's because the world tried, through Satan, tried to defraud God. Guys, do you understand? The wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. This is Proverbs 37:21. The wealth of the wicked stored up for the righteous is an amazing verse. And that has never come true It has to come true because of the word of God has to come true. It has to. I have 1,000% trust in it. In Psalms 91, you'll only see with your eyes and witness the punishment of the wicked. You're about to see that inside of the EBS. And what does it mean? Is it just for everyone to be fat and sassy? No, it's for Matthew 24, where we're going to preach the gospel throughout the world and the end comes. It's not, we're not going to be going through, we're not in a tribulation now. We have to have the Antichrist before we get into a tribulation. The tribulation is down the road. There are 650 scriptures that have to be fulfilled down the road to make the tribulation a reality. There's a whole nother reason for why the tribulation will occur. What we're in is a pre-tribulational time frame, even after NESARA stuff. We're not walking into 1,000 years of peace. That only happens after the tribulation issues. We're in a pre-tribulational time frame where we're going to be able to preach the gospel. But guess what? You have to have the finances to do that. We're not going to have the same things that you misunderstand. This post-NESARA time frame is about being able to get the truth out. And I think that's just amazing stuff, but we have to bankrupt the corporation. So I tried to give you kind of a real clear view of this. I hope this makes a difference for you. If you'd like and subscribe, there's my Telegram. Oops, sorry. There is my Telegram. There's my Telegram. And up here is also, you can go to drscottyoung.com. You can get a 14-page document that talks about an outline that talks about NESARA that helps you, so you can kind of go download that. You can always donate to the foundation here. I really would appreciate that. I mean, it makes a difference for me. I never ask for any donations necessarily. I appreciate if you do. You don't have to do that, but it is really appreciated. I try not to do advertisements on here, but YouTube does them. That's just what happens on there too. But we try to make a difference in your life too. So if you have questions or comments, leave them at the end here. Thank you so much.